Hey, what's up, my coinaholics? Welcome back to Blue Ridge Silverhound. I'm your host, Sean, and today, actually, I had a really good question for today's video. A buddy of mine that I've known for about the last 8, 9 years, pretty close to when I first started Blue Ridge Silverhound. Some of you probably remember that. He had reached out to me. He successfully sold a part of his collection, and his main motivation was just to simply scale down on what he had. He felt like he had way too much stuff that was taking up half of the family closet. And his wife finally said, "You know what? You're going to sell some of that stuff." So through the whole process, he had sold his coins. Sold it actually in pieces. I think he sold a part of it to a local dealer. He ended up selling some of his errors online to his one person. And when he sold the errors, okay, he was taken aback by the fact that one of his coins he was actually able to get $300 for, and he didn't think it was that special. It ended up being a Clash die proof. What was a $50, 1973 or something like that. And he asked me, I'm like, why is there such a big kind of like difference in value from an error that you would normally see from a business strike coin? And we'll get into what business strike versus proof is here momentarily. Why is there such a big price difference between, say, a same type of error like a Clash die business strike candy $50 compared to one that's proof? And that's a great question. I think ultimately, I guess the most general answer that I could give simply revolves around not only the process in which each coin is being produced, but also just the availability of such coins. All right. I mean, when we think of 1973 proof set, it's really not all that special. Quite a few of them were produced, but still compared to say the regular mint sets or actual business strike coins of the same date. I mean, it's just so far askew, it's not even funny. Okay, there's so much more of the business strike coins produced that's made and intended for circulation. I actually have a really good example of what that is. I mean, you guys have seen just regular good old business strike coins. You know, this is actually a Denver mint set. And the mint sets were actually business strike coins that were pulled out by hand as they were being struck and then inserted into the plastic containers you see here. So any business strike coin is made and produced for circulation. Okay, in terms of the way the dies were prepped, okay, it's still the same process. You had a master die, you have the working dies that were being made off of that master, and then they would just run the working dies, to strike the coins that essentially is being used out in circulation. So anytime that you throw that quarter in the laundromat machine, all right, that is a circulation strike coin. You know, you spend it to fill up change for a cup of coffee in the morning, or you get the change back, you throw it in your piggy bank. Okay, that circulation. Proof coins were kind of produced as a necessity to help fulfill the demand of collectors. All right, so a lot better care was taken when these were being made. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you an example. I mean, you guys have seen proof sets, but some of you probably need extra clarification. So here's a 1971 proof set. As you can see, the picture's not too great because of the my light ring thing there, but you could automatically see the difference. These were in much better quality in comparison to the circulation strike coins. The dies were prepared a little bit more intensely and very meticulously as during this time. And we're going to use like 1970s as kind of a generalized date or date range rather for production, because as we go on through time to the current age, processes, technology is so much more wholly different that the quality of the coins have gone up quite a bit more. During the 70s, early 80s, proof dies were highly polished, and then the highest raised areas that you would see, like Kennedy's bust and all that, the letters, those were all sandblasted, all right onto the working die to produce the cameo frosting, all right. But not all the coins. I mean, if you look at this one, the only coin that has enough frosting on there to say that it has a cameo is the Kennedy $50, whereas the other 4 coins in the set don't have that anymore. Okay, so when the working dies are sitting there striking these proof coins, the pebbled surface of the design devices will eventually wear down almost to smooth. And then that's how a lot of the other coins in the set just look all completely mirrored out. And, those are way more common than, say, the actual ones with deep cameo. But not to get off on too much of a tangent on the actual, like, deep cameo conversation. These were produced in much lighter figures. So to give you an idea, the 1971 proof set, there were 3,220,733 total sets made, all right, for 1971, whereas for a business strike coin, and keep in mind, they produced them in Philadelphia and Denver, for the Philadelphia 1971 Kennedy $50, for example, and that's just the $50, 155,164,000 of that particular date and mint mark were produced. Now keep in mind, there are 3.2 million proof sets for 1971, which means there's 3.2 million per coin you see here, whereas I just gave you the mintage of one specific coin for business strike. 71D Kennedy $50, 302,097,424 pieces were made from the Denver Mint of the Kennedy $50. So, with that being said, if you're going to take all 5 coins here, add up the total mintage of each coin together, you're looking at right around 16 million pieces, whereas just the Kennedy $50 alone for both the Philadelphia and the Denver minted coins, you are well above 457 million total pieces. So, yes, there are quite a bit less of these, but I'm happy to say that if you have proof sets that are accessible to you, like a local coin shop, or maybe you like to shop for them online, these are very cheap, all right? Because in spite of its collectability at the time of release, today in the 2000s, these things have waned in popularity. However, this is a huge source for a number of various things. Cherry picking wise, people cherry pick these sets for, like I said, the deep cameo contrast coins of the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. They go through them to look for varieties, things like double to dies, repunchment marks, all that great stuff. And then we come to errors. Errors. So one thing we want to understand about proof sets is that these were meticulously produced. All right. Even in the early 70s, okay, where they didn't take care of that cameo frosting on the working dies, they do take a look at other things. Like, they were very particular in the type of planchets that they selected for these. They would sit there and actually, take a look at all of the planchets as they're being, swept away on conveyors and all that sort of stuff. All right, so they're looking out for things like planchets that are improperly annealed, and clipped planchets. They really don't want to use, which is why those two particular or lamination coin blanks, which is why that finding any of those type of errors on proof coins is really rare. All right, but there are a few different types of errors that we're going to focus on based off of prices that are just so much more drastically different from the proof coins to the business strike. Even though on the business strike coins, some of these are quite common. So we're going to actually, and I looked at it and I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? The best website to use is Heritage Auctions, because they've sold everything under the sun when it comes to error coins. All right. So it's real simple. We're on their website, ha.com. They're like one of the best auction sites for coins, bar none, along with a bunch of other things. But I went into the auction archives. I simply typed in proof, and then I hit enter. Okay, and it's going to bring up all of the past sales of such coins in errors. Okay, so this is under the errors section. Now, this is a coin right here that had sold just recently. All right, a few weeks ago, a 1976 Jefferson nickel with a cut die break. All right, so this is also on a proof nickel. It's a proof 67 deep cameo. Graded out PCGS proof 67. I would say if you're able to find any sort of errors on proof coins, you probably would need to send it to a third-party authentication service that'll just help make the sale that much more appealing. Plus, it'll help you sell the coin at all. So if we go in here and take a look at this, I mean, the coin sold for $396, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Even on a proof coin, you could get things like CUDs. And some people will ask, well, if these things were so meticulously produced, I'm not going to say they were quite white-gloved to that effect, but, things like this get out, okay? And then they get inserted into the containers that you see right here. So with this coin right here, it sold for $396 on the reverse. This is what it looks like. It looks like a regular standard proof nickel, right? There's the graded image of it. Okay, even has cut die break obverse at the 5 o'clock or K5 position on the coin. I mean, it speaks for itself. So $396 for this coin. So how does a comparable nickel cut that is on a business strike coin sell for? And that's a great question. So we have this one coin here. I actually brought up this is a just proof or nickel cuts. So I opened up another Heritage Auctions archives, and then here's this one coin that we just looked at a second ago. And if we scroll down a little bit until we get to what I would say is the first relevant cud nickel, we have this 1983 Jefferson nickel with the obverse cud. This one sold in 2014. Prices haven't quite changed for this type of coin, but this one has a really nice sizable cud, which we'll see here momentarily. This one is also graded PCGS Mint State 65, and this one sells for $41. It's just a huge contrast in the value of the coins. When business strike coins are produced, some would say that people, the mint employees didn't quite care about the quality as much on the business strike coins, and there is a lot to be said about that. A lot of truth to it as well. So, with that being said, we have a coin here. I can only imagine how many of these were produced at the time, but you can see there's a nice right-sized cud right there. All right, that's a very attractive coin. It's a higher mint state condition coin. This one again sold for $41, mint state 65. I mean, you can't really ask for too much else on that particular coin. But this is just one example of a business strike nickel cud. All right, and then here's another one. This one right here, another business strike coin. This thing has a big old fat cud on it. It's a 1999D out of all dates. Even has 6 full steps, graded out NGC Mint State 63. This one sold for $152.75. So even a coin with as big of a cut as that one didn't quite get to even half of the value as the 76S proof nickel fetched on the secondary market, which is just unbelievable in my estimation. But you could just see just the contrasting value between the business strike era of the same type with a proof coin of that same era. And if you come on down the line, you'll actually, this is quite impressive. You'll actually see a few proof nickels that sold back in 2010, which is kind of like the previous peak of the coin market after the recession. People were dumping money into coins. This is one of them. But as you can see, here's a nickel proof coin with no visible date, and then here's a 69S. Check out the dollar sold prices. Nearly $1,500 for this undated type with a large cud. And then right here we have another one that's sold for $1,265. I mean, that's real money. But it just gives you an idea of just the profound rarity of this particular error on proof coins of that type. And we just looked at nickels. I mean, we could look at like dimes, pennies, quarters, and you'll find similar types of errors going between those different types of strikes. All right, so that is the CUD. The next one that I wanted to talk about is going to be something like this. Okay, this is probably the least likeliest of coins that you'll discover in a proof set, just because of what it is. Because someone actually has to hand assemble these. I mean, you would be completely naive to think that this is anything more different than a regular quarter. But what we have here is a 1976S bicentennial quarter that was actually overstruck on an already struck 1967 Roosevelt dime. So it's called a double denomination. This coin right here sold for $15,000, okay, which is an insane amount of money. This one sold a few weeks ago, NGC Mint State 67. But if we wanted something that's a little bit more along the lines of kind of like struck on a different sized planchet intended for a different, something like this, like a Jefferson nickel that is struck on a 1 cent planchet. I mean, this one right here sold last year, actually a few months ago, for $2,640. Here's another one right here. This is a Roosevelt dime that was struck onto a Lincoln cent planchet, okay, which is going to be copper, sold for $1,560. All right, so how do other coins compare on the business strike side of this particular error, where these coins are struck on a different denomination planchet? Well, we have, what I did was I simply typed in quarter on dime. All right, and I opened up another Heritage Auctions archive section specifically for this. And then we have a couple right here that sold relatively recently, just over about 2 months ago. We have a no-date Washington quarter struck on a silver 10-cent planchet, so it's probably pre-65. And this is pretty remarkable. It's an AU53 by PCGS that sold for $780. Now, considering the fact that this coin was struck on a 90% silver planchet, and it's still sold for a fraction of a proof clad on dime coin, says a lot. Here's a 65 Washington quarter that was struck on a clad 10-cent planchet that sold 2 months ago, December, for $408. So you guys can just see just the huge variance in values. Even on a very impressive kind of like semi-transitional error strike, along with the 65 clad on dime, or clad quarter on dime. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything spectacular, but neither does the proof ones. That's sold for many multiples times, what a business strike coin sells for. So it's just simply incredible, just the varying prices when it comes to that. So the last error that I wanted to look at, and I might actually have to type this in, but it's actually Clash Dies, all right, which is the original subject of my friend Eric's coins they sold, Clash Dies proof. And this is going to just blow you away. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the, let's see, Clash Dies. Yeah, that's not going to work. Let's see if, because there is a Kennedy with Clash Dies that I wanted to talk about on here. Because there's a few of them that exist. Like here's one right here, 73S Kennedy half dollar with Clash Dies. You can see it right there. It's a NGC Proof 68 Cameo we'll take a look at that one here momentarily. Unless I can find another one. I thought I saw another one. There was a few. But as you can see, the price of this one right here, it's a 73S, which is the same exact year that of my buddy's coin. They sold for $300. This one sold in December for $480. All right, and then if we go over, actually, I'm gonna click into this so that way you guys can see the clashing. Excuse me. Which is just incredible. This thing, I mean, you could see the clashing. I mean, the pictures are rather dark for Heritage, but we are talking about a proof coin. But if you take a look at the clashing right here in front of the face, so that's actually the heraldic eagle design that's clashed onto the obverse die of this coin before it was struck. So this is how it translates out onto a newly struck coin. So very, very spectacular looking error. I actually have a few Jefferson nickel clashes. On the reverse, you don't see too much in terms of the clash. You can see a little something here off of the eagle talons, and then right here, right above the ribbon. All right, so that's the proof 73S. Let's go ahead and take a look at a business strike type of the same date. So we have a 73D. This one actually ended on eBay to the tune of $69.99 and then $3.29 for shipping. This one sold January 17th. This is a really recent sale. But this one is very impressive. I actually looked at this one earlier, and it has the same type of clashing on here as well. You can see it right in front of Kennedy's mouth, behind his neck. And there are actually a couple much better photos with actual guide arrows on there. But this is like, you know, apples to apples comparison. The only difference is the proof versus business strike. So we had a coin on Heritage Auctions that sold for $480, and you have this one that sold for $70. Now, as a business strike coin, I always tell roll hunters this because this is a coin that sometimes gets thrown back inadvertently without double checking. But a clashed dies Kennedy half dollar is actually one of the more valuable business strike coins to find with clashing. You can actually find a clashed maybe Roosevelt dime or Lincoln cent, and it would be worth a fraction of this coin, maybe by a third. So, those coins probably be worth about $20-25. But, if you make sure that you keep an eye out for the Kennedy half dollar clashes, these are spectacular sellers on the secondary market. But it's not a proof Kennedy half dollar. That's the only difference. So as you can see, just the multipliers when it comes to apples to apples errors of the same denominations from one strike to the other is just way out of this world. And there's really no other way to describe it other than that the errors aren't really, in hindsight, are supposed to exist in a proof set. And that's why there is so much more desirability. People are willing to pay more money into the marketplace for errors on proof coins. And generally, a lot of your errors are going to come up on coins during the 70s, during the 80s. You might find a few of them during the 90s. I've seen actually clash die proof coins come out of 1990s proof sets, which are spectacular because, you really do have deep cameo contrast on those particular coins as opposed to the coins from the 70s and 80s. So just tremendous opportunity for a lot of people that want to actually cherry pick proof sets because these things are out there in huge quantities. You could find things like this. You could find strike throughs are another big thing that people like to search for on proof coins. You could find like struck through wires that look like scratches. Those are always a fun find. I've found a few of those. The clash dies are a big one. I have like probably 4 or 5 clash die Jefferson nickels, and each one of them I wouldn't even sell for $100 a piece. They're just that cool and that more meaningful to my collection. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. Hopefully you got a little takeaway. for this video. Just huge. Man, just beautiful errors on proof coins. There's nothing else like it. But anyways, Coinaholics, we are discovering together. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Hit that bell for instant notification if you haven't done so already. And I guess I'll check back with you guys here on the next coin video. All right, so long.